Okay, so here's another perceptual illusion for you. Two things you could see when you look at this. I see a mouse, and if I look at it differently, I can also see an old man with a very large nose. So if you're looking at it and you see the mouse, here's its head and nose, its little arm, body, here's its ears, and its back, and then its tail is coming all the way around in front of it. And then if you see the old man, these are his eyes. This is his very large forehead and very protruding chin. And this is his very large nose, and his mouth is right there. Most of you probably see the mouse. I always have a lot of students that can't see the older man in that one. And this one is the old woman or the young woman. I, to this day, still cannot see the older woman. The younger woman, she is turning away from us. This is her face and her chin. Her nose is right there. This is her eyelashes, her hair. She's got a feather on her head. To this day, I still cannot see the older woman. So if you can, kudos to you. So getting into the notes piece of this lecture, we need to talk about how we perceptually organize things. When vision competes with one of our other senses, vision always wins. This is what we call visual capture. Your vision is your strongest sense. So the question that we should be asking ourselves is, how do we form meaningful perceptions from sensory information? Well, we talked about how we use top-down processing to do that. We organize it. Humans like to organize things. Gestalt psychologists showed that the brain creates a coherent perceptual experience that is more than the sum of its parts. Gestalt psychology, Gestalt is German for whole, and this is something you need to encode in your memory right now. Gestalt psychology, when it translates into a saying, it's that the whole is more meaningful than the sum of its parts. When we look at a painting, we don't just notice the colors and the lines. We notice what that painting is of. We like to organize things as humans into something that makes sense to us. So Gestalt psychology is the organization of something into a whole that is making sense to humans. How do we perceive forms then? We organize things into figure and ground. The figure is the object that is standing out from their surroundings. The surroundings are the ground or the background. Think about it this way. So you can see this, two things, men walking downstairs or arrows. So here is the man's heads, they're walking downstairs, or these white arrows that are pointing up and down. That is figure versus ground. So if you see the arrows are the figure and the black is the background. If you see the men are the figures and the white is the background. Other ways that we perceive things, we like to group things. We like to organize things into groups as humans. And we can do this through proximity. So when you look at those lines, you're not seeing 6 lines. You're seeing 3 lines of 2. So they're in pairs. So proximity. We group things as to how close they are to one another. And you're going to be doing a project on grouping rules. So make sure that you understand these. We also group things into similarity. We look at this picture right here as being vertical columns, not horizontal. So we see one line of triangles, one line of circles, one line of triangles. We don't look at it this way. That's because we're grouping things by similarity. We also group things through continuity. Continuity is the continuous thing. So we see this as 2 continuous lines, not one necessarily interrupting the other. We group things through connectedness, right? We see these little balls as being connected to the line. It's a single unit. They're not disconnected in any way. And our mind also likes to fill in gaps. We use the process of closure. So we see this as being a cube in this painting or in this picture, not as circles with random lines through it. That's the process of closure. It is extremely important that you know these 5 grouping rules that humans use in Gestalt psychology, meaning in making sense of things. But it always doesn't work, or it doesn't always work. Although grouping principles usually help us construct our reality of something, they can lead us astray. So this is in your book. In this picture, it appears as though the doghouse is complete, but those dogs have been strategically placed, and in our minds, we are using the process of closure to explain this, right? This is not a finished doghouse, but we know it to be a doghouse because our brain will fill in the gaps for us. This isn't the Necker cube. In this instance, when you look at the top figure, your visual system is going to organize the elements into the box. But if you reverse the box in the Necker cube illusion, the elements in the bottom figure have these terminations. They're blocked off, right? There's no openings like there are here. This is open here. This is closed. So because in the Necker cube illusion, it's using the process of closure, we don't as humans see this bottom figure as being a box, but we definitely do the top figure. And the last thing I want to talk about is something known as depth perception. Depth perception enables humans to judge distances between two things. And depth perception is cool because through this study in the 1960s, they found out that depth perception is innate. So depth perception is seeing in 3 dimensions, despite the fact that the image on the retina is only in 2 dimensions. So they did this experiment where they put children on a table, and on one side of the table they've got this wallpaper-like material, and on the other side of the table is glass. It looks like there's nothing there, but it is glass. And they put their moms on the other side of the table, and they wanted to see how many babies would cross the threshold. Because to the child, right, it appears as though even though the same cloth is down here, that if they cross the threshold that they would fall. And what they found out is that infants at crawling age have depth perception, even that young. Even newborn animals show depth perception. And there's some thought here that this is an evolutionary thing, that humans and animals need depth perception to survive in our environment. So that's going to do it for notes. I'm going to offer an extra credit opportunity over the weekend. It is a 60 minutes video. I think it's about 15 minutes long, and it's on face blindness. These are people who do not have the ability to recognize faces. So to keep this a secret, since it's at the end of the lecture and you all have done what you're supposed to do, if you would like to do the report, and it'll just be kind of a summary on face blindness, shoot me an email. I will email you back the video or the link to the 60 minutes video with directions on what you should do.